I'm filming this again because my mic was not on for the last one. So, such I can be a goofball sometimes. Anyways, what if I told you that the life that God wants for you isn't something that you need to earn? It's something that you already have. You're like, what are you talking about? Well, just listen. Please listen. I would like for you to turn to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Why Deuteronomy chapter 30? That's Old Testament. Because Old Testament is part of the Bible, and the Bible, well, it's the truth. Okay? So, Deuteronomy chapter 30. It shows God's promises for life, love, and obedience. Okay, we'll start there. So, just a quick context before we get into the awful drawings that I'm about to make for you guys. Deuteronomy chapter 30, and I'm looking at my notes from my phone, so if it looks like I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. Deuteronomy chapter 30 explains that Moses was speaking to the Israelites about the blessing and the curse of obeying or turning from God. Okay. And it highlights that God's commands aren't arbitrary. They are for their good, to live, to thrive, and stay in His presence. Okay, you're thinking those are all good things. Wow. I wish I could do those things. Guess what? You can. Let me get into the awful drawing that I'm about to show you guys. So if you read through Deuteronomy chapter 30, like we talked about, and I'll get into the drawing, you'll see... Oh, that's too big. I need to zoom out. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. You'll see that God sets before us, and this is a table, a pretty bad table, but it's a table. God sets before us two options. One, I'll make it green, is life and prosperity. The other is death and disaster. How do I know that? If you look at... Well, first, they're called a blessing and a curse straight away in verse 1. This is both the blessing and the curse that I have given you, and take them to heart while you are among all the nations to which the Lord God has banished you. Okay, it's a blessing and a curse. At that point, you don't know what the blessing and the curse is yet, until you get to verse 15, where it says, "See, now today I have set before you life and prosperity, death and disaster." Well, life and prosperity, that sounds like a blessing. Okay. And death and disaster, well, that sounds like a curse. Okay, so God sets that before us. Okay, so right here we have life and prosperity. Right here we have death and disaster. Now, I want you to imagine, let me zoom out just a tad bit more, that God, this is God the Father, is standing behind this table. He's standing behind this table, and you get in line to choose. Like, yeah, I get to make a decision. Cool. You get to make a choice. And you get to the table, and you're like, wow, okay, so you know which is which, a blessing and a curse, life and prosperity, death and disaster. Which everyone wants life, don't we? All of us want prosperity, don't we? Okay, just wait. And you go up there and you choose life and prosperity, just like the rest of us would. So you choose life and prosperity, and God says, "Hold up. Did you see what it says below?" You're like, "What do you mean? I don't see. What does it say? I don't see." And over below the life and prosperity, this is what it says. It's almost like looking at the back of a box with all those tiny little words. This is what it says. In order, and this isn't just me making this up, if you look at verse 16, before we get into what it says, verse 16 says, "This is what I am commanding you today. Love the Lord your God. Walk in his ways, and keep his commandments, his statutes, and his ordinances. Then you will live and increase in number, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land that you are going to possess." What does that sound like? That sounds like life and prosperity. Okay. But what does it say below the button? It says, "Love the Lord your God." God. And you probably won't see it. I'll have to move it. Love the Lord your God. Walk in his ways. And keep his commandments. Oops. Keep his commandments. Okay. And those tiny. Oh, no. Sorry, guys. It's tiny box. So you click on this without even knowing. Oh. In order to have life and prosperity, you need to A, love the Lord your God, B, walk in his ways, and C, keep his commandments. Oh, darn. Well, I guess I can't have life and prosperity. Can we? Because we're sinful, right? So God looks at us and he says, "Jack, I love you. Don't walk away just yet. I want you to have life and prosperity." So, this is what he does. Hey, Jesus, come out here. So, where does Jesus comes out? I'll even put like the little hair too. Alright. That doesn't look like Jesus, but that's Jesus. Jesus comes out. And God says, "Jesus, Jack here, he says he wants life and prosperity. Only issue is he's not tall enough to ride this ride. Why is he not tall enough to ride this ride? Because he doesn't love me. He doesn't walk in my ways, and he doesn't keep my commandments. So, because I love him, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this for him." Like, what? Okay. Well, let's pause there. Jesus does this for me. Yeah. Look at verse 6. It says, "The Lord your God will circumcise your hearts and the hearts of your descendants so that you love the Lord your God." Okay. With all your heart and with all your soul, with the result that you will live. Wait a minute. And I also want you to look at verse 10. "When you obey the voice of the Lord your God by keeping his commandments and his statutes written in this book of the law, when you return to the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul." Sorry, that's not the... Backtrack. That's not what I want. You're making a video and you don't even know what you're doing. Okay. Where am I here? So no, I mean, verse 10, keep verse 10 and 9, but then listen to verse 8. "Once again, you will listen to the voice of the Lord, and you will carry out his commands that I am giving you today." So what does he say in verse 6, verse 8? This is verse 6 and verse 8. He says, "Hey, you can't love me, but I know someone who can make it so that you do love me. Here's Jesus. He's going to circumcise your heart." How does he circumcise our hearts? Dying on the cross. What does he take out of our hearts? The sin. So that we can love God. Whoa. Oh my goodness. We can love God now. Why? Because Christ lives in us. And he renewed our hearts. Well, that's step A. So that, right? So that you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. With the result that you will live. Whoa. He just said so that you will live. What? What? We missed. Okay, Jack, we missed. We missed walk in his ways and keep his commandments. Guys, what did Jesus do perfectly? He kept God's commandments. Okay, but I didn't. Who lives in you? Christ. Oh, so I do keep his commandments. Wow. But I can't walk in God's ways. Guess who is God? Jesus. And if Jesus is God, he can walk in his ways. So Jesus can do all three of these things. Love God, walk in his ways, be like him, and keep his commandments. And he did all of that for you on the cross. And when he did that, he now lives in you, so that you will live. Sorry, not even so that. With the result that you will live. Verse 6. With the result that you will live. Not maybe you will live. Not you might live. You will live. And then if you go even further to that, he says, you will keep his commandments, so that you will keep his commandments, you will love the Lord your God. What, like, there's nothing missing here. So, you get the pass. You get to go with Jesus. You get life and prosperity. Isn't that awesome? Because Christ lives in us, we can do these things. That is who you are. Well, what is it? Like, God is basically telling you, obey. Be obedient. Love me. That's the biggest issue that I see, is people say, I wish I loved God more. I do too. I wish I obeyed God more. I wish I did too. But you do. Because Christ lives in you. Be who God says you are. Now, why would God even give us the option? Well, why would God give us the option? Let's imagine that there's someone behind you in line, and he's waiting, and he's waiting, and he's not patient. And if he's not patient, that means he's not loving. That means, he's not loving. And he looks to you and says, what's taking so long? Why are you so slow? Are you dumb? Just hurry up already. He hates you. And he persecutes you. That's verse... let me see here. Verse 7. Then the Lord your God will place all these curses on your enemies and on those who hated you and persecuted you. Guys, an enemy of you is an enemy of God. Those who hate you, those who persecute you. This guy, he hates you and persecutes you. I don't even know how to put a smiley face on him. He's got a frowny face. Why? Because he hates you and persecutes you. What does he get? According to verse 7, he gets death and disaster. Sure, he might have walked up there and pressed the life and prosperity button, but he hates you and he persecuted you. Therefore, he gets death and disaster. Guys, and just to wrap this up, pay attention to verse 11. So, like, before this, God is, keep his commandments, keep his statutes, love him, walk in his ways, right? Verse 11, it says, so certainly this commandment that he just gave us, this commandment that I am giving you today is not too difficult for you, and it is not too far away. And it's not far away. And then in verse 14 it says, instead the word is very near you, it is in your mouth and in your heart, so you can obey it. Guys, this commandment that he's giving us to love him, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, it is not too difficult for you, and it is not far away. You can obey God because of who you are. Because who God made you through Christ. And this is just surface level. You are children of God. You are loved and equipped by Him. And you are able to love and obey because Christ lives in you. That's it. You have life and prosperity. If you want to go deeper than just the surface level of who you are, I would encourage you to join the community. I'll pull it up right now. Here's all the daily devotions I've held with the members. Guys, I started in July. This was the first day. And look where we are now. If you want to be a part of this, I encourage you to join. It's awesome. I want you to be there. If you want to figure out who you are, you don't need me, but if you want the help, I'm there. I love you. God bless your day.